Welcome back to Garden Talk, brought to you by the Penn State Erie County Extension Master Gardeners. And again, today I'm your co-host, Mike Bailey, along with Ellen DePlacido. Ellen, good morning.
Good morning, Mike.
Hey, today we're going to do something a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of like periodically to go back and kind of throw out some reminders, a quick laundry list of things that we think you should be thinking of. So we're going to do that in rapid succession. Okay,
Yeah.
starting off here, hanging baskets. Uh,
Uh-huh.
about time to fertilize those hanging baskets and adjust the location if needed. I know I've had to address that myself. The sun's coming around a little bit, and then my
Mm-hmm.
front porch is getting awful hot in the heat of the day. So, and the other thing is to kind of keep them moist. It's amazing how quickly they can dry out in the sun and some of this warm wind. I've gotten a little shaky myself sometimes. So, a little reminder: give them a little fertilizer. Container gardens, same thing. Location.
Mm-hmm.
You got to evaluate that. What about the sun and the heat and in the shade? Do you need to kind of move them around a little bit? Also, don't be afraid to fertilize them. Again, just like the hanging baskets, these containers that have drainage holes in them. As you put water in them, it leaches out some of that fertile material. And you have to kind of replace it periodically.
Mm-hmm.
In trying to maintain a nice even moisture level is also very, very important, and it's not too late to change that plant from a relatively small container to maybe even something that's a little bit bigger.
A little bigger.
You
Mm-hmm.
might have to consider that. Ellen, take it away.
Right. Okay. I just want you to know I moved some of my containers from my south side of my house to the north side to my front porch, so I had to do that too. Um, but now, looking at spring blooming shrubs, it might be time to trim now before next year's flower buds start to form on those shrubs. So maybe as early as mid-July, you want to take a look and it might be time to trim those, shape them, and cut out some of that old wood to encourage new healthy growth. And then your summer and fall bloomers, you want to wait until post bloom to trim. You don't want to trim now because if you do, you would be cutting off those new flower buds. So be careful about that. And newly planted trees and shrubs, um, are you keeping it well watered? It's been very hot and dry. If the leaves or the edges of the leaves are turning brown, they might not be getting enough water. So if that's happening, water some more. And you want to water near the base of the plant, maybe 2 or 3 times a week would be
Yes.
needed in this hot, dry weather we're having.
Yeah. Why don't you touch on the vegetable gardens too, Ellen, please?
Oh, okay.
Weed
Okay.
control, your favorite topic.
Yes. Get them under control early. Now's the time they're going to start flowering, they're going to go to seed, they're going to produce more weeds. So be out there in your garden and pull those little weeds out. And water is needed. Okay. Your fruit is starting to form. That means that your plant needs more water because the larger portion of your fruit is water. And if you don't water them enough, blossom end rot could develop on your fruit. And fertilize is needed, but you don't want to overdo it. You might want to dilute that fertilizer a little bit, but fertilize is needed.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
want to take over, Mike?
Yeah, good point, Ellen. And as far as the watering,
Mm-hmm.
in the prevention of blossom end rot, it's so very, very important. If you look at a lot of the literature, they'll talk about, well, it's a calcium deficiency. It's a calcium deficiency because there's not enough moisture
Water.
in the
Mm-hmm.
soil to carry the calcium up the plant. So you solve this problem with really consistent moisture levels in the soil. That'll do the trick. And as far as the fertilizer, as far as not overdoing it, you don't necessarily, if you overdo it, you'll get a lot of vegetative growth, but you won't
Mm-hmm.
get a lot of blossoms and a lot of fruit, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what you're after. But now, so jumping on to the brassicas, the cabbages and the cauliflower, et cetera, and stuff like that. Cabbage worms, get them under control. They can devastate those crops if you're not careful. You can hunt them down. You can hunt down the eggs and the larvae, or you can use Bacillus thuringiensis, which is absolutely it's one of the safest, most effective ways of controlling these things. It's readily available in all the garden stores, and it works very well. I've been using it 30 years, okay, and I think it's great. And you got to watch for slugs when the soil's wet. And again, those iron phosphate products are very, very good and very effective, and they're very safe. They're in the soil can use that iron anyways. Okay, some of them are some things like Sluggo and Slug Away or something like that. They have those kinds of topics. And same thing with the tomatoes and peppers. You got to be careful of the watering, and you got to be careful of the fertilization. A mulch covering underneath those plants is where really kind of helps, because it helps keep the moisture in, it helps maintain the temperature of the soil, and keeps the weeds down. And also remember to remove the lower leaves, especially if they're diseased on those particular plants, because if you don't and they catch a disease, that disease will gradually move up the plants. And again, that consistent moisture controls blossom end rot, which is most prominent on tomatoes, but you will see it on peppers also. So if the bottom of those tomatoes are starting to turn brown on you, that's what it means. Okay, that's called blossom end rot, and that's where you need to make sure that you're keeping the soil a little moister. So, moister. Is that a word?
Moist. A little more.
I'm sorry. Thank you. I'm trying to hurry, okay? Because we got other topics. So how about you pick up the next one, please?
Okay. Your garlic. We're almost getting there where it's time to time to harvest your garlic. It's not that far away yet. So, but if your garlic has scapes on them, harvest those scapes. They taste really good, and you can use them in your cooking, but hold off on watering now. So it's not important to water. In fact, you want to let them dry out a little bit when it gets close to harvest time. And as far as the onions, you might want to give them one last light fertilizer. We just did that Saturday down at Emmaus Grove. Keep them moist, because they're going to begin to bulb up very shortly, and you'll get nice big onions. But don't forget to fertilize your onions also.
Yeah, right. Keep those onions good and healthy, because this is the time. This is the growth right now is going to determine the size of the bulbs that you're going to get a little in. As we reach the summer solstice, that's when the bulbs start to form. Okay, so keep after them. Cucumbers. Stay alert for those cucumber beetles that we've talked about, okay? And don't be afraid to plant a second generation of cucumbers. You still got plenty of time for them to mature. In fact, I think I might be doing that myself. Hey, the other things I wanted to mention real quick, because I got a call about this on the garden hotline, is that poison ivy control. And I got a call from a lady who had a big patch, and she didn't want to do it herself. She's terribly allergic to this material and didn't have a family member to take care of it. Some of the landscaping companies in the county, okay, are very good at removing that material. So don't be afraid to search those. And if you have a question about that or a question about other things, you can call us on the hotline at area code 814-825-0900. Thank you for listening, Ellen. We're out of time, but we made it. Thank you now.
Good. All right.
Fine. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.